Okay, and like I said, I had two of these Iron Patriot figures turn up. The first one was the one I ordered for the review, and then the second one turned up. It actually turned out was supposed to be like a knockoff Mafex Deadpool that I was interested in, and I ordered it on AliExpress, and when it turned up, it turned out to be this again rather than the Deadpool. But because I was able to get two of them, I was able to modify this in a few ways, including giving him the dual cannons, so he's got a bit more like a wolf predator thing going on. But also at the same time, it allowed me to experiment and practice with the torso, and you can see that the torso has been repainted here. It was originally red lines going across here, but I've actually done 3 stripes to the front, so it's very much more like Captain America with the 3 stripes there. But also at the same time, when you turn him around the back, you can see he's got 3 vertical stripes on the back as well. And also on the back, I've actually weathered some of the edgings a little bit to give him a little bit more of a used look. I mean, this is Cap here, so he's very much going to be a hands-on kind of guy. He's not going to stand back and actually shoot from afar. He's actually going to get in and get physical, and that's why he's got more paint chippings and scratches. But I'm definitely glad I put the vertical lines in there because it's far more reminiscent of Captain America. And then I went around and I tried to just clean up the paint quite a lot because there was lots of paint bleed up on these vents here and the exhausts. So I went through and I repainted these bits here so that they don't bleed off as much and look as messy. I also repainted the stripes on the left and right here just so that they were far more clean and less bleed off, so that the actual red is red, the silver is silver, and the blue is blue. Also down here, this has all been cleaned. I've also enhanced the black lining with some black line pens all the way through so that you can actually see all the different parts of separation where this thing would open up to let him out of the suit. And yes, before you ask, the light up features still work. Voila, that's the arc reactor glowing. And also, if you notice inside here, there was actually a lot of flashing from the mold or something still stuck in there. So I went in with a scalpel and I just cut around the inside there, so it exposes more of that that red piece in the middle that sort of frames the whole arc. But unfortunately, it's still not great because it is still wonky and it is a lot smaller. But it's a lot cleaner now, so when it shines through, it actually doesn't look as ugly and garish. The head sculpt is an Age of Ultron Captain America head sculpt. Yeah, I just didn't know what to do. Sometimes when you buy these figures, they come with a secondary head sculpt and you don't know how to show them off. So basically, I decided what I was going to do was use the head sculpt for this. Now the figure is a little undersized, which means like a full true 1/6 scale head sculpt is going to look a little bit big on the body, which is what you're seeing here. The head is a little bit too big, but that's just the way it's got to be. I mean, I'm only using this pretty much to show off that head sculpt anyway, and just do a different sort of variation of Cap. I like the idea. I think it was Hulk and Iron Man Heroes United. It was a CGI animated film they did a few years ago. It wasn't reviewed very well. I don't think everybody watched it, but you actually see Cap get into the Iron Patriot suit in that to help try and combat the Hulk, so to speak. Such is the life of a tinkerer. You can't leave well enough alone, and I was really trying to just do this video with this and just leave it at that. But then I got the idea that maybe I should do something. So I went on AliExpress and I bought a third-party Captain America head sculpt. I was really hoping that would be undersized so that it would fit this body a little better. So it turned out the third-party head sculpt I got was in actual fact the right size, which was a bit gutting. I needed it to be a little bit undersized because if you can see these two head sculpts for the Iron Patriot, you can see that the light up one is much bigger than the one with the face in it. Both two very different sizes, and in actual fact the light up one looks a little bit too big on this figure here. So I figured, as this was going to be the Iron Captain, if I could actually take apart one of these heads here, I could in actual fact maybe try and fit the third party head sculpt in there. So I ended up dremeling all the inside of this out here. If you're very careful, you can pull these apart and there is like an LED in there, and this top part here comes away from this bottom part here, and this face sculpt comes out, and this top bit can pop off as well. But you can actually take it apart quite easily. So I took it all apart, and there's loads of internals and loads of inside bits. So I had to go through and just Dremel the heck out of it and just basically make the helmet hollow. And then after that I had to Dremel and cut the third party Captain America head sculpt until I was blue in the face. I've still got to clean up that spare room because I've made such a mess. There's so much dust in there and bits of plastic flying everywhere from the Dremel. So yeah, the wife's going to shout at me when she finds out what I've done in there. So after a few hours of painstaking work, I managed to put together this head sculpt, and we can see it's the Iron Captain with the helmet on and just his face showing, and that took forever because I had to literally absolutely cut out the entire hairpiece area. I had to cut most of the back of the head off, and in actual fact the only thing to really survive was the front part of the face. And then I had to keep checking to make sure that the actual face could fit inside the helmet, so there was a lot of cutting down the jaw area and stuff like that to try and get it in. But you can still see where some of it has been dremeled and cut around, and there's like a big gap between the jaw and the helmet piece here, but that's the best I could do given the head sculpt I had. But I think it looks pretty okay, and I had to then glue this head part up here on top properly. We can see I've actually got some super glue stuck on there, so I'm going to have to either try and sand that off or try and paint over it. But it's yeah, that's pretty much what I did with the spare helmet. Yeah, was it worth it? It doesn't look too bad, but I don't know if it was worth all the effort I put in. But it's okay. It's kind of another option I can have if I just so wish to display on this guy here. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm just waiting for the leader tight to firm up. You can see I actually accidentally dremeled the back of it there. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if it was worth the extra hours I put in to make this, but you know, once I started doing it, I just, you know, I was compelled to finish it. So yeah, I did it anyway. And here he is in a bit more of an action pose. You can see he's just got the shield up, and he's got the repulsor lit up, and the arc reactors on, and he's ready to kick butt. And I think it looks pretty nice. Again, it's just more like a concept art version of Cap that can go in the collection. And where possible, I tightened up joints where I could. Some of these little arms on the shoulder cannons were loose, so I tightened them up with some the sort of floor polish and super glue techniques that people use all the time. And I had to tighten up this top part of the knee because his knee was very loose and he could barely stand straight. And I also had to tighten up the top bicep here because where this is a die-cast shield, it flopped around quite a lot. This is a lot of weight for such a flimsy arm. So yeah, I had to try and tighten up the joints a little bit more, and I tightened up that joint just in here as well, just so he could bend and hold the arm at a bend, because before, when I just put the die-cast shield on, this would just flop the arm down and just drag it straight down. And I couldn't have that because then I couldn't put any cool poses in. So basically, the whole list of things I did, I swapped the head sculpt out for Age of Ultron head. I cleaned up the flashing around the arc reactor, and I made sure that the paint was nice and strong in there. I also tried to repaint as much of the torso as I could just to make it look a bit more cleaner. I repainted this torso bit here just so it could have 3 vertical lines on the front and 3 vertical lines on the back to make him look far more like it was a Captain America suit. I also put more paint chippings and weathering on the actual suit itself. I gave him the extra shoulder cannon from the other figure. I tightened up the joints, and I gave him a Captain America shield, and I weathered that shield myself as well. And here he is with the mask up on top of the helmet. I don't think that looks too bad. Obviously it's a bit garish down the side here. I can see some of the face sculpt, and that's not very good, so I'll have to go back and clean that up, I think. Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it would be now that I see it on the body. Still needs a bit of cleaning up, and it's a bit rough around the edges, but still got to do a bit of cleaning up here. There's some super glue there. But other than that, it don't look too bad, especially from certain angles. Probably other angles it looks absolutely atrocious, but how as ever, I'm actually quite happy with it now. I think it looks really good. I'm not as embarrassed about it in the collection because it does look like some sort of like Captain America concept sort of thing. It can get away with being a little bit more cheeky. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and if you could do me a favour now, if you can get the fuck out of my cave. Well, that's just it. Just get the fuck out of my cave. Bye bye.